On this Andy's Autosport Manufacturer Spotlight, we're going to talk about the ups and downs of airlift suspensions. We're here with Matt Dougherty from Airlift, one of the oldest manufacturers of air suspensions and leveling systems. Matt, how are you today?
Very good, and yourself, sir?
Very good. Tell us a little bit about the company of Airlift.
Airlift's been around since 1949. It's a 67-year-old company. We basically have three divisions in the company. Our load support, which is predominantly for pickups to control, to support in the back end when you load a vehicle. The second division is our performance division, which is part of what the Mustang sitting behind us is. And our third is engineered solutions. We create solutions for people that have problems with need to lower buses or fire trucks, ambulances, things of that nature.
Okay, very good. So I've used Airlift suspensions and the load leveling suspensions on some of my pickup trucks for years. They have been around forever. A great section of the company. Let's talk a little bit about that.
We have applications for pretty much anything that's on the road at this particular point, whether it be Cadillacs on up to F-450s. We found that most of our products are application-oriented, so each individual product goes in. As new vehicles become out, we create new designs and put them in. We're constantly looking at new areas to change the air spring and make it a better performance. In the last 2 months, we brought a new product called the Ultimate. You can see it on our website. It has a Johns bumper built right inside our Load Lifter 5000, which basically makes it a run-flat commodity. And more so, an air spring without air usually is the death of an air spring.
Absolutely. So this has a bump stop that's built into it.
Right. It's
excellent.
Three-stage bump stop that's actually built in the inside to protect the air spring and protect the load on the vehicle.
Okay. Is that designed to run without air in it when there's not a load against the truck, or is that just a fail-safe?
It is a fail-safe. You should always keep some air in them, but should the air leak out, you're not going to destroy the total bag or forget about putting air in the system. And
that's been a problem in the past. I mean, if you didn't put air in them, you definitely were replacing the bags.
Absolutely. I know people that have bought a new half-ton, put air springs on them, didn't put air in them, went down, got their new boat, went to put air in them, and their springs were worn out already.
Right.
So it can literally happen within 5 to 10 miles and ruin the air spring.
Right, and this eliminates that.
In this particular case, for the Load Lifter 5000, yes.
Excellent. So Airlift offers a lot of vehicle-specific kits. Let's say, for example, there isn't a specific application available for your vehicle. How do we go about finding one, a universal type kit or a universal type system for a vehicle?
With regards to load support, there really isn't a situation like that at this particular time. We have looked at other opportunities of possibly putting more brackets in one kit and making it sort of a universal if it's a Chevy, Dodge, and Ford. But at this particular time, everything we make is application-oriented. So if we don't make it, chances are nobody's making it. Our major competitor makes kits that a little bit differently than we do, and we make some a little bit differently than they do. Neither one of us are OE, so we don't get involved with the actual design of the vehicle coming off the line. So we have to work around what they have. So every year we look at the new applications, say what can we do, and move from there. The nice thing about Airlift is that we are an ISO 9000 company. We build to order. So when somebody orders a part from us, we literally put it together and ship it out. What happens with us with that is that if we see a problem, we don't have a lot of inventory in the field to where it comes back and selling products that are not as good as they should be. Or we find a better mousetrap. We create a better mousetrap. We don't have old inventory in the field. The new stuff can go right on out.
Like the 5000 series that now has the bump stop built into it.
Exactly.
And you guys have, as far as the load leveling, you guys have been around so long, you have an application for just about everything.
Pretty much our creed to our distributors and our customers is if it's a Chevy, a Dodge, a Ford, a Nissan, or a Toyota, if we don't make it, it's in the pipeline to be made. That being said, we probably have in our Airlift 1000, our red bag series, what we call, which goes inside the coil spring, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 700 different size bags that we have manufactured over the years. So somebody can call us and says, I've got a 1963 Lincoln, I need a rear spring kit for it. We probably have it. No longer in the catalog, but the guys at the office can figure out what they need and put it in. If somebody has something unusual, all we need is the dimensions of the spring, the inside diameter and the height of the spring, and we can usually find something to work for that vehicle.
As long as you guys have been in business and the things that you've done, I'm sure that you've got something you can go, hey, I have just the thing that will fit inside there, give me the dimensions, and that sounds great.
Exactly. Yeah, there's probably maybe made an inch spacer inside or something to adjust for it, but I don't know if anybody's not been able, something that we've not been able to fit.
Okay, so when we're talking about putting either a load leveling system on or an air suspension system like we have here, what's involved in the installation of that?
Well, predominantly on the load leveling, load support side of it, about 90% of our kits are bolt-on kits. Mm-hmm. There are some that has to be drilled. If we have to drill one hole, I have to call it a drilled kit. But predominantly across the board, about 90% of our kits are bolt-on. So it's literally follow the instructions, put the parts where they're supposed to be, and bolt them on. And that's on the load support. When you get into the full suspension, it is literally a bolt-on. There is nothing else. There's no cutting. There's no welding. You take out the old strut, you put in a new strut. You take out the old spring in the rear, you put in a new air spring. It's pretty much that simple to install it. On air suspension, you're probably looking at first time out, maybe 6 hours to install the parts, maybe another 3 hours to plumb it. And one good working day, you should have it up. If you do two, you're going to cut that time in half.
So basically, this is just basically like just changing out and put a set of coilovers on, except you've got an air suspension. Of course, you got to plumb the compressor and the tank and things like that. So it's very straightforward. Yeah,
and it's probably even easier than coilovers because all you're doing is taking out a strut and putting the strut back in. You're not messing with any upper lower control arms. The whole system is all in one. Unbolt it, take it out, and put it in.
So let's say that somebody is looking for an air suspension system for their car, a performance kit such as what's on the Mustang. Why would somebody choose Airlift over a competitor's kit?
Well, when we designed this kit, our head engineer for these kit is a racing car driver as well as a racing car instructor. So he knows exactly what he's looking for. We have made air kits for many years for suspension. Predominantly it was mostly for looks, lower them down, put them on the ground. And that progressed into getting them all the way to the ground in what they call a slam kit. And now it's come almost full circle and said, we want performance and we want to ride. Everybody knows when you get to a performance suspension, you got to give something up. And most likely it's ride that goes away. Mm-hmm. What we have done with Airlift performance suspension is that we've given you a look. This one here is on the ground. When it's ride height, it's slightly higher. It's got a performance of a coilover, if not better. And it rides as good as OE.
Well, I'll tell you, and we took a drive in this car a little while ago, and I'll tell you what, it's very impressive. And I spend a lot of time on the track as well. I was very surprised at when we had it in the, let's call it the performance setting, where we had it lowered down, where everything was where it was supposed to be. Unbelievable. You could still feel the road. There was no body roll. Very impressive, as you could still feel everything. I like to feel the roads so you can actually feel the bumps. You don't want it to upset the car, and this didn't do that. There was no washing back and forth. I was very impressed with the air suspension on this. It actually, and then when we were driving back, we popped that baby up on number 3 and rode back like it was a bone stock suspension. It was very impressive.
We thank you very much. And that was the whole point behind developing this with the gentleman that developed it, Brian Vincent. He knew what he's looking for, he knew what he wanted, and he wouldn't quit till he got it there. When I first heard of this suspension, I could not really believe it. I've ridden on air before. We've all ridden on air. Once I got in the car, it was a whole other story.
Well, I typically, on air suspensions, I always, and I've been in a couple of cars again that people put them on the ground, and that's cool, but typically when you go around a corner, you can feel it sway back and forth. Now, they have check valves that kind of control that stuff now, but this was a completely different feel. I was very amazed at how well it handled. And this car still has all the bone stock suspension on it, and it was still, I believe you could take this car out, track it, and be competitive on like a track day, just to beat around with your friends. It was a great system.
Well, when this car is not on the West Coast, it lives in Lansing, Michigan, and it is tracked every weekend. It is our R&D car. It goes out, it gets driven extremely hard. We try new things on it. We try different setups on it, and that's what it's there for. So that and a Subaru WRX that we use as well. So we see what happens with all the cars as we build them out.
Well, that's really so. You've done it on the WRX as well. So you've got the all-wheel drive import scene covered, and then of course you got the big muscle covered too.
Right. We do the new suspensions on the Mustang. The new performance suspension will be for the Camaro here shortly, probably about another 2 weeks. It'll be off. We do it for all the Dodge products, Volkswagens, Audis, BMWs, G35s,
Okay.
X350Zs. So most of the popular cars that are looking for a great performance suspension, we have made this suspension available to them. And again, it's a great performing suspension that gives you an extremely good ride and a look that's really hard to beat.
Well, and one of the things about this system as well is you can actually adjust the physical ride height as well by taking and actually rolling the sleeves up higher, so you can still, you have the suspension bag, but you can actually lower it and raise it in the actual frame itself and still get the damping and the rebound that you need out of the strut as well.
Exactly. The design is a bag over, if nothing else. You want to look at it that way. It has all the features of a coilover, the threaded strut, the threaded housing. The nice thing on these threads, it goes all the way to the bottom, so you can thread it all the way to the bottom, all the way up. An air spring functions differently than a coil spring, so the dampening has to be better and stronger for the whole thing to react. So building the car, putting together, this is probably the 8th or 9th generation of the suspension, and the first 7 or 8 didn't make it to market. This one came to market.
Well, it's a great job. It's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the leveling springs now. How would you go about what makes Airlift better? Besides the fact that you guys have been doing it and kind of pioneered it, why would we buy Airlift?
Well, there's a couple things about Airlift that's different than our major competitor. One is that we give a lifetime warranty, and the lifetime warranty is everything in the kit. Every nut, every bolt, every bracket, every piece of hose, as well as the air spring. That's one nice thing. The other thing is that we have a 60-day ride satisfaction guarantee. If you don't like it, we'll buy it back. No questions asked, we'll take it back. And the third thing is we use 3 or 4 different exclusive designs to our kit that nobody else uses. One of them is in the Load Lifter 5000. We have anti-roll plates that sit on top and bottom of the bag. This allows 3 things to happen. 1, we get a little bit more surface. We have a little bit more lifting power. 2, should they articulate the wheel far enough, they want to bring that spring out of where it's supposed to set.
Right.
The roll caps force it back in to stay straight. And the third is, should they run the bag very low or flat, it will protect the bag to some degree. Not to the point where it won't fail, but it will protect it against the sharp edges on the bottom of the mounts. Okay,
Matt, let's talk about the control pad. I want to see everything that this thing can do. Show me about the control pad.
Well, on our control pad, as you can see, it's one wire that runs to the back of the car where the control system is. The basic system here is a compressor, a manifold, and a tank in the trunk. That's it. The manifold has all the ECUs and all the switches built inside. So it's literally a plug-and-play system.
Okay.
Probably 45 minutes to install it.
Wow.
Once you know where you're going with it. As you can see, the way this is numbered, there's 8 presets on this. And you do have 8 different presets. You can have your ride height, your show height, your cruising height, you're really getting crazy cruising height, and whatever else you want out of it. By using 1 and 5, that's how you maneuver through the whole system on the control pad. You press it once, you go to a settings mode, and you can do all your settings at that point. You press it a second time, and you go into the management mode of the control system. Management mode being when you install the system, it'll run a chest on the whole system. It'll run a compressor from wherever you set it to set up and run to the max. It'll tell you how efficient this compressor is. 6 months down the line, you do that again, and you see your compressor is only 40% efficient.
Wow.
And now you can change out a compressor before it fails in the middle of nowhere.
So it'll diagnose itself, too. It's kind of got a little you can just check and say, okay, what's going on? And it says, hey, your compressor's only 50% efficient. Probably should look into getting one or whatever.
Exactly.
Excellent.
The other nice thing about this is that within the next 60 days, it'll be Bluetooth and iPhone adaptable to a Droid. So you'll be able to work this whole system through your phone, on your phone, no matter what you want to do with it.
So there's an app for that.
Oh, yeah. There's an app. There will be an app for that right down the road. We had it up and running at SEMA. We had a few snags in it. Needless to say, software is always that way. So before we release it, we're going to get it all
Well, you want all the bugs worked out, for sure.
On our system, even with our suspension, the whole kit has a 1-year warranty on the controls, the electronics, and everything else. So we give as best warranty as we possibly can, considering what some of these things are put through.
Sure. So let's change the ride height on this. Where are we at? Where are we with it right now?
Right now we're at ride height. What I'm going to do is take the car all the way down, and that is where the car stands at show height. But with this particular car and the way it's set up, the tires won't roll at this particular time.
Sure.
Now we can adjust that to have it anywhere you want. Again, you got 8 presets on here. You can set the presets anywhere you want.
Right.
With regards to the height of the car going all the way down. The other nice thing about the controller is that you can have an automatic lift when start.
Yeah, I noticed that when I got in the car earlier. As soon as I hit the key, boy, it just put right to number 1 setting where it was going to ride.
Right to your ride height all the way back. And then from here we have this one set up for different heights because we use showing different people in the car. But we can take it up to 4, which would be like 4 people in it. We wake it up, we ask it to go on up, and away it goes. And that is what we would basically call 4 people in the car. Or if you put it in, add that weight to it, it would still be coming down to pretty close to your ride height.
Sure. Well, and when we drove it, we had it. We went and tortured it a little bit, and we had it on 1. And then as soon as we started driving back, we had it on 3. There was only 2 of us in the car, but boy, the ride just was really smooth. And so it basically you can compensate for the ride there as well, can't you?
Exactly. And the other nice thing is you can do this on the fly. You don't have to pull over to the side of the road and change it. You can change this, run down the road at 60 miles an hour and flip it down. You're running down the highway. You're finally running a stretch of road that's just absolutely horrendous.
Abusive,
reach over, push it up to 3, boom. And the suspension comes back up, it gets a lot smoother
right.
ride in the car.
So just because you have it set up to where if you have 4 full-size men in there, you push the 4 button and it'll compensate for everybody. But you don't have to use it for that. It can be just for the comfort side of it as well.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
That's the nice thing about the presets. When you do ask it, it'll say it's going through the process, and when it finishes, it'll say successful. So you know when it has gotten to where it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that too when we pushed the button and we were driving. Okay, yep, it's 6. We're there now, so that's great. Another thing I noticed about this is the compressor's actually really quiet. There's no sound deadening or anything. And I mean, you can hear it running, but it's not. I've heard some that are very obnoxious. This compressor's not real loud.
Well, the nice thing with this one, especially when it's running, the drone on the motor is far worse than
you
the
can't
compressor.
Hear it.
You don't even hear it.
Yeah, just right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The compressors are relatively small. Again, what you put into the car is what you're going to use the car for.
Sure.
If you're going to move the car a lot with regards to up and down, you want more air tank, more compressors to refill it faster than if you're just going to drive it. What we are seeing in the industry right now is that it's coming down to slow, nice, easy movement, not hard, jerky up. This car happens to be working off of 1/4-inch line. That's what we highly recommend. Years ago, it was 3/8 and a half, and the car would move in a big jerk and
quickly. I mean, it would jerk you up and down.
So now it's come down to smooth riding, looking nice, and what has helped the whole industry is that the OE has come to an awful lot of air vehicles on the road today.
Absolutely. Well, and that's one of the things I noticed as well. It wasn't harsh when we were changing ride height. In fact, when we were driving down the road, it just was a natural progression. You hit the button and we were still driving. We were running down the road at 45 miles an hour, pushed it to 3, and all of a sudden it just started to drive like it was supposed to, just a nice, comfortable ride.
Exactly. So we feel that we've hit all the nails on all the heads with regards to designing this. We've got the look, we've got the ride, and we got the performance out of what we're looking for.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Again, I was very impressed with the system and can't wait to install one. Now, also, you can control each individual, the pressure in each individual bag. Is that correct?
Right. You can push this and go into a manual setting, and then you will have the front and the rears, left front, right, left rear, right rear, and then those will be up and down. So every time in a manual mode, when you push the button, you get 1 PSI.
Right.
So in this particular car, you may get 10 PSI may move you a 1/2 inch.
Sure.
And you know exactly what you've got to do at that point. If you want to change your ride height a 1/2 inch, put 10 more pounds in all the tires and see where it goes from there.
Well, and also you can compensate for just one driver only on the one side or whatever.
Exactly.
Does that, have you guys noticed that in track testing? Have you seen that actually makes a difference? Does the engineer, is that why he designed it that way? So that, because one of the things that we do when we build race cars is we try to compensate by putting the battery from the right front to the left rear to kind of compensate for the driver if there's only one person in the car.
All I know is that you can set this car for any track depending on which way. If you're going in the left and right, if you're going in a counterclockwise oval, clockwise oval, you can adjust the suspension accordingly. We have on the damper, on the struts themselves, we got marks on the damper, on the camber shafts as to what it is, as well as markings on there for what particular track and what the dampening is done on it, as well as the camber.
Oh,
so
very nice.
We change them all the time, depending on the track.
Sure, and that's of course how you'd have to do that. So, but that's really neat how you can adjust each individual corner. That's great.
Right.
Okay, Matt, so we're real excited to offer the airlift suspension system at Andy's Autosport. Do you feel like the staff here is well versed in your system and is able to do justice for the wonderful reputation that you guys have come about over the years?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we spent the whole day here educating the guys on the phones and customer service on what airlift's all about, what the suspension is all about the car, how it works. And as a matter of fact, we took just about everybody out for a ride. Some screamed a little bit louder than others, but we had a good time. Needless to say, they were all very, very impressed with the ride of the vehicle, and most of the guys that rode in the car are coilover people and have had bags and said, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this. This is unbelievable."
And that's one of the things. We have a lot of car enthusiasts here too, so it's kind of nice for them to get out there and do an apples-to-apples comparison, especially now that we have something like this to give them a ride in. So we really appreciate you coming by today.
Well, we thank you very much for the opportunity, and I know we'll have a great working relationship.
We hope you've learned something today, and we'll see you on another Andy's Autosport Manufacturer Spotlight.